Strategy number 2, stealth strategy number 2 in our value conspiracy series. I want you to write this down right now. And again, remember, you're suspending your judgment about a term that I'm going to be using, and you need to be open to challenging your assumptions about success and being willing to take focused, outcome-driven action. The greatest resource of instant wealth for you today is in knowing how to translate your real value, the value that comes, remember, from your experiences and your ability to self-reflect, into intellectual property. The greatest resource of instant wealth for you today is in knowing how to translate your real value into intellectual property. Now, that term, intellectual property. Glenn, that sounds too intellectual for me. Please, you promised me you would suspend your judgment around terms. I'm going to define this term because it's absolutely critical. If you Google, go online, remember I said I challenge you to Google everything I cover here. No one is covering this today, and this is 100% proprietary. If you Google online intellectual property, how to value a company valuation, etc., you'll see that the biggest area of opportunity today exists in the fact that how we define experts, that when we say we, experts like corporate lawyers and CPAs that work in this area, they'll say that, that because of the digital revolution, the definition and how we view intellectual property needs to become more encompassing. In other words, what are they saying? They're saying that intellectual property today is not for big companies anymore, not for software companies. We create software, the expert positioner software, and we have huge intellectual property in this. But you don't need to know how to do that. Intellectual property today is for you, it's for me, it's for small business owners, it's for entrepreneurs, it's for speakers, it's for coaches, it's for people today. If you're stuck in your job, it's for you knowing how to have a system to really position your true worth in the marketplace. So I want to redefine the term intellectual property so that you can clearly see not just the opportunity that you have, but the ability to take action on that opportunity into increasing the probability that you're going to become hugely successful with what you've learned through the School of Hard Knocks. So I'm going to clear my whiteboard again, and I'm going to look for my brush. And my brush has gone somewhere. Oh, here it is. I'm going to rub the board off here. And we're going to redefine intellectual property. All right. When it comes to, let's understand, first of all, when we're talking about business enterprise, we're talking about becoming an entrepreneur and understanding what it means to be an entrepreneur. It means literally to be the CEO of your company. You need to see yourself as the CEO of your company. And we're talking about a company. What is a company really comprised of? It's comprised of 4 main assets. First of all, what we call fixed assets. And we're not going to be talking about this, but I just want you to see that. Working capital. Working capital, and then finally the 2 areas that I really want to focus on, and I'm going to actually put these in a different color: intellectual property and intangible, what experts call intangible assets. Now, for the sake of it, let's call intellectual property IP. And intangible assets, let's call that IA. Okay, intangible assets. Now, what do we mean by intellectual property? The traditional definition of intellectual property is anything that has been protected by law. Anything that's been protected by law. So copyrights, trademarks, trademarking secrets, patents. Those are all examples of areas that a company owns, assets that they own that are protected by law. Now, by definition, intangible assets are anything that are not protected by law, such as networking groups, distribution lists, manufacturing processes, ways of organizing that companies have to increase their efficiency or productivity internally. Those are all incredibly valuable. And in fact, those are areas that companies can sell off certain assets And this program is not about how to do that. But please understand that the reason why companies are never valued properly is because of many of their assets being grouped in the IA category. And here's what I want you to understand. You have all kinds of assets that come through what you learned through the School of Hard Knocks. Remember our two formulae. Lower end programs or services are equal to information times experiences. Your target market wants your experiences. We call that knowledge. And then a higher level of where your higher end programs and services are created. Remember the second formula. We called that wisdom. High end programs and services are really based on your wisdom, and that's equal to knowledge times self-reflection. You have all kinds of assets that come from here, in here. No one can see this. You have an incredible balance sheet that no one knows about. And here's what you need to understand then about this definition. IP, and this is how most experts look at it then, is IP is not equal to IA. In other words, they're mutually separate. They're two different groups. I totally disagree with this. In fact, we're going to wipe this definition out, and I want to highlight once and for all that as we move forward, your intellectual property is equal to your intangible assets. What do we mean by intangible assets? Your experiences. Your experiences are hugely valuable. The experiences that you've gained outside of traditional schooling. What does traditional schooling do? I call it regression to the mean. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by that? If we draw a line up here, the educational system does a great job of taking anybody that has any kind of aptitude, i.e., they have, in educational terms, that means they got some exceptional abilities in thinking or in music or in sports. They have better abilities than the average person. And it does a really good job of taking people that are just below the mean, but taking them only to the mean. Every organized system today, organized coaching programs, getting a PhD, moving into an MBA program, they all are taught and are organized by people that have never made it in business. It is called what I call regression to the mean. It's a way of being average. And you have a desire, just like me, to go above and beyond being average. You have a calling, a huge calling. And that calling is first of all to see that there is purpose in life. There is purpose from the assets that you've gained through the School of Hard Knocks. Some of the most painful experiences that you've gone through are incredibly valuable if you know how to position them in the marketplace. So I'd like to summarize where we began with stealth strategy number 2, and that's the greatest resource of instant wealth today for you, is in knowing how to translate your value into intellectual property. Please, as we move forward, intellectual property is equal to intangible assets. Intellectual property is equal to what has gone on here and now being able to connect it up here. I look forward to sharing with you stealth strategy number 3 in our Conspiracy of Value series.